It's time to discuss everybody's favorite Big 12 team. That's Kevin Borba, Locked On Buffs. We're going to talk Colorado. We're going to pick every game in the Big 12 as well because there are indeed other teams in this conference who have a much better chance of getting to the playoff than Colorado, Kevin. There are even teams in this conference that have a better chance of being an at-large team. But you and I don't have uniform agreement on this particular front. So when discussing the idea of Colorado being an at-large playoff team, i.e. they do not make the Big 12 championship game and they end the season at 10-2, I'm not saying their chances are zero, but boy, they're pretty close to zero in my book, especially with the way the College Football Playoff Committee has ranked teams so far.
So we agree, there's a chance. I mean, in the episode. No, realistically, we talked about this yesterday on a group show. And when there's 10 of us trying to talk at the same time, it gets difficult. What I was trying to say yesterday, and what I'll say to everyone right now, is Colorado can make the playoff as an at-large bid if, biggest word in the dictionary, if a lot of different things happen. If you look at the teams ahead of them, I'm going to run you through a quick list, Spencer. I just want you to sort of nod along and acknowledge that this is true or false, right?
You want me to be a yes man? Is that what you're saying?
True or false. You could be a yes or no man.
Okay. I'm allowed to be a no man. That's good. That's good.
I'd prefer you didn't say no because then it ruins my vibe, but no, it's fine. Colorado, true or false, ranks 20th in the college football playoff right now.
That is a true statement.
That is true, right? And then Kansas State, right above them, number 19. They have to play Iowa State. And Colorado is ranked above Kansas State in the Big 12 standings and then right below Iowa State, correct?
That is correct.
So those two teams have to play each other. One of those teams is going to drop down, assuming Colorado. And everyone, this is under the assumption that Colorado doesn't lose. Let's just preface this 30 times. If Colorado loses, they will drop out of the rankings altogether. I think, and this is just a take in general, there's no team in college football that has a bigger floor and ceiling than Colorado right now. If they lose one game, everything that they hope for rankings-wise, playoffs-wise is done. If they continue to win, they could go from random Holiday Bowl to possibly making the playoff. I saw your... You don't like that one as much?
Well, I don't think they're the only team that applies to. I think you can put Kansas State in there as well. Because right now you'd have to say that Kansas State, by the playoff rankings and by virtue of having the head-to-head win against Colorado, has a better chance of being a playoff at-large team than the Buffs do because they still play Iowa State. Because part of my other contention here, Kevin, and why I struggle to see it for the Buffs is if they play Texas Tech this week and win, and we're going to talk about that game coming up here in just a bit. If they play Texas Tech and win, that's the best win remaining on their schedule. They've got Oklahoma State, who stinks. They've got Kansas, who isn't any good. And they've got, I'm forgetting the fourth game right now, but help me out there.
Yeah, I'll pull it up for you. Continue.
Yeah, but they've got 4 games left in their season, and none of them are moving the needle.
They got so Kansas State has Arizona State, Cincinnati, and then Iowa State. Those are the last 3.
Right, but Colorado has got
Colorado. Sorry, Colorado.
I was very surprised you didn't know Colorado's remaining schedule off the top of your head.
I was so set on Kansas State. I was like,
I was like, oh boy, Kevin does not look good right now.
Now we were talking about Kansas State. That makes more sense. And I was like, why would you know?
So Colorado's got Texas Tech, Kansas, Oklahoma State, and Utah.
Yes.
None of those wins are moving the needle. Now, help is often given in college football to those who hold their own. I say that all the time. It applies to the Buffs. But the amount of help needed, if Colorado goes 4-0 down the stretch, I think it is substantial. It starts with Kansas State losing. It doesn't even come close to ending there, though.
And that's kind of my point, too, is this isn't me saying if Colorado's 10-2, they automatically get in. This is me saying if they're 10-2, pending other things happening, they have a chance. Because you look at their strength of schedule, you just mentioned it, it's 80th in the country, right? The only 2 teams in the top 25 with a worse strength of schedule, do you want to guess them? I feel like you know one of them for sure.
Indiana is one.
Correct.
And
this one's towards the bottom. They might have even been at the bottom of the rankings.
They were. Got to be Army.
Yep. So Colorado's strength of schedule is only better than those 2. That's not working in their favor. The strength of record is 26th, similar to Indiana in a way, not the same degree. Colorado's been winning big lately. Their last 3 wins have all been by double digits, and they've all been super convincing. UCF, they beat them 48-21. Arizona 34-7, Cincinnati 34-23. That's kind of what Colorado has to keep doing. They need Kansas State to lose. They need Iowa State to lose. And then there's other things around the country that can happen. So we'll go back to the checklist, Spencer. Pitt and Clemson had to play each other. They're 18 and 23rd. I think, obviously, the loser of that game, Gonzo, right? Would you agree with that? 18 and 23rd in the CFP?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. One would presume.
Yeah, and the ACC is looking very one-bit-ish. I think.
Yeah. Oh no,
them in the Big 12
SMU's up there a long ways.
They are.
SMU can play spoiler here.
But if SMU loses one game big, I feel like they're not going to get the benefit of the doubt. Excuse me.
Maybe not, but if that one loss comes in the ACC championship game and they're sitting there at 11-2,
that's where it gets dicey though. Because then
I think that probably gets you in.
Because I think you have to pick a team, and this is the hard part with Colorado, is if they don't make the Big 12 title game, which I mean they have to win it regardless if they make it, they have to sort of hope that all of the losing teams and other conference titles, one, got blown out, and two, have like an ugly loss on their resume as well. Like LSU, for instance, they have that early loss to USC. I know that's like a random pull, but that's just me thinking on the top of my head. They have that ugly loss to USC week 1. USC is probably at the bottom tier of the Big 10 right now. So
that's where they are.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. Shout out Lincoln Riley. Good thing he banned the media though. That's going to change everything. Back to the checklist. Ole Miss plays Georgia. I think Ole Miss, number 16 in the country, they're very close to sort of not falling out, but I do think that they'll fall out of contention. I think they'll probably be in that 19 to 25 range if they lose.
Well, here's where that gets dicey for the Buffs.
Yeah,
do you really believe, with everything that we talked about earlier on today's episode of the show? I know you weren't here for that, Kevin, but it was about the Big Ten and SEC and how they're just every step, every opportunity they get, they're trying to consolidate and take everything for themselves.
Yeah.
Do you really believe that a 10-2 Colorado is automatically in over every 9-3 SEC team that the league could throw out there? Ole Miss, Bama, or LSU?
Automatically, no. But I think it depends really on the losses. And this is where add it to the list. And we'll sort of consolidate this list at the very end so that way it's more clear. But Colorado, they need to go 10-2. They need to win convincingly. They need other teams, i.e. Kansas State, to lose. And they need those SEC teams to lose ugly. Like if Georgia blows out Ole Miss, like Ole Miss is done, right? Ole Miss
But if to your point, if Georgia wins by a field goal, Ole Miss is not even going to be ranked below Colorado, even though they'll have had a third loss, and one of them is to Kentucky. They won't care. It's the SEC.
That's the hard part, right? And that's sort of like the whole thing that goes with it. But theoretically, I think 3 losses. I'm still kind of on the fence with that, but I feel like 3 losses is the cutoff. Continue on. LSU and Bama, they play each other, 15 and 11th in the country. I think the loser there has means or grounds to fall quite a bit.
They won't fall behind Colorado, though.
You say that, but I mean, we'll have to wait and see. There's going to be a lot of movement. In the next 2 weeks alone, a lot of these teams play. So there's going to be a lot of movement. Colorado has to handle their business. And if they do, they can move up. And then finally, Texas A&M and Texas play. Honestly, if Texas loses, Texas is the biggest question mark in the country for me right now. Is like they're riding solely off vibes and brand, because what win on their schedule is impressive? What's their most impressive win? At Michigan, who's terrible, or against Oklahoma, who is playing their backup quarterback, who's also terrible. And no team in the country has had more luck with quarterbacks than Texas. Again, opposing quarterbacks, excuse me. They're playing against Florida's walk-on from Yale this week. I think the best quarterback Texas has played is
I hope that wasn't disrespected the Bulldogs. I hope it wasn't.
New Haven, great place. Frank Pepe's is there. Loved it there. Diego Pavia is the best quarterback they've played all season. So Texas's resume,
he's elite.
He's really good.
That's the father of Alabama, by the way. The state, just as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, Hugh Freeze hates him. He might cost Hugh Freeze his job. And then Indiana is another interesting team for me, because we talked about strength of schedule. If they lose that one game to Ohio State, right, what happens? If it's close, they're in the mix. For me, if they lose by a field goal, they lose by a touchdown, drop them down to 9, 10, whatever. If they lose by 20, right, which we haven't seen all year from them, what does that mean for them, right? So I feel like there's a lot of things that need to happen. And to summarize, Colorado needs a lot of teams to lose big. They need to win big. And then they also sort of need like teams like Notre Dame to drop a game. Like the teams that we're not talking about right now that sort of are like, oh, they're going to handle business. They need them to collapse, right? This isn't just a clear path. It's about as murky as a path as possible. It's like when you lose service and your phone's trying to give you directions and it's frozen, you're kind of just driving and hoping that it'll reset. And that's what Colorado is doing right now, which isn't a bad position to be in, because once you get service, you could be on the right path. But a lot of things have to happen.
Just the fact that we're even able to have this conversation is a testament to the job Deion Sanders has done, who through all the media hoopla discussion, blah, 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 he's done a good job coaching this program. There's no way to argue that particular point. I'm sure people will find one anyway. Are they going to win this weekend, though? Who wins the Holy War? We're picking every game in the Big 12 coming up next.